I am Captain Spawn, and this is day 325 of Spawn Year. I've read this issue 3 times over now, and I'm completely mystified as to how anything works or what the heck gets Spawn to the character place he's at by the end. So yeah, it's just another day at the office. This is David Hines' final issue, and he's ramping up to the next all-new, incredible, fresh, original, inspired direction for the book, because it's only been a little over 20 issues since the last time we pretended like we had one of those. And seriously, what was all that talk in the letters pages about how the direction after Armageddon was supposed to reflect the vision McFarlane always had for the character? First, if there was some other tone or characterization he'd always wanted, I mean, it is his book, nothing's stopping him. But also, everything since the apocalypse has been aftermath and complicating Spawn's origin. How is that the big dream McFarlane always had for Spawn? Well, apparently it really wasn't, because after all this time, McFarlane feels the need to make his triumphant return and take the reins back next issue, along with Brian Holguin. Wow, how did all that convoluted mumbo-jumbo he made up and couldn't keep up with not drive him insane? And what supervillain did he tick off to sentence him to more of this hell? As usual, I find myself reading a rush job masquerading as a well-thought-out epic conclusion to Maman and Spawn's struggle. Just like all those other times we've stalled out and bided our time with either superfluous stories or just really drawn-out issues where almost nothing happens for an entire year's worth of material when we're waiting for the next big landmark to make a big event out of and sell more issues. This is all coming to a head now, just because 185 is finally upon us, not because any of that prior real estate was used to gradually build to a climax and see characters going through experiences that naturally change them and bring them to make choices that get us here. The short synopsis, because this is obviously how this issue is plotted, is Maman and Marana are supposed to be so overconfident and cocky that they make a fatal tactical error, a la Hitler, and beat themselves with their own flawed master plan. And that engenders a new resolve in Al to finally do some mysterious thing he should have done a long time ago. And I know what that is because I've read ahead and know 185. Somehow he knows just where to go, traversing all that treacherous, skeleton-laden land, even though he just got to Limbo, and as far as I know, he's never hiked it before. And that's all that really matters. It's totally plot-driven storytelling, or maybe I should say plot-point-driven storytelling, as not only, as usual, is there no logical character progression moving these events along, but the events themselves are nonsensical. The old woman from the future tells Cyan about some be-all, end-all binding spell she knows about because in the future, Nyx has already used it to thwart Maman and Marana. Oh, and by the way, wasn't all of this confusing enough without throwing time travel in here too? I really don't understand how, but this is played up as a big strategic error on Maman's part, that he didn't see the future. I've always been fuzzy on what he's capable of and how he's always been sure how people would respond to things he does. Maybe he's supposed to read the future, but got complacent so he couldn't see that he ultimately loses. But really, it's that Hein and McFarlane have decided that now he's supposed to fail, so he fails. So it turns out the Legion is just an excuse to see these characters we barely spent any time with before again, because they're just a distraction so the real Deus Ex Machina can happen. It's just like when Cagliostro used the box with the last remnants of Eden or whatever to distract Spawn long enough to put on Bulgy's crown. Why did it have to be an incredibly unusual mystical maneuver? Why not just bust out the ninja rap or point and say, hey, look over there, Man of Miracles? That totally would have worked on Maman. Or just have somebody take all their clothes off. It worked on Marana's lackeys last issue. Why do we keep continuing these elaborate setups for issues and issues and cop out with, it's just to momentarily distract the bad guy? Maman and Marana are bound by this vaguely all-powerful spell, and Cyan tells Maman he's insane for unleashing the all-consuming power of Spawn, reminding him that, hey, he lives in, reality, which Spawn has the potential to totally destroy. Don't you like, I don't know, existing? And Maman gives her this horrified look like he's never thought of that before. What? What the heck was your motivation for raising Lorana so she could destroy everything if it never occurred to you how much it would totally suck if she destroyed everything? Ivan Ooze made more sense. At the end, the old woman writes that Spawn is to become both the greatest hero and the greatest villain ever, which is shorthand for, we never figured out what he was, so we'll just say he's both, and big reveal, she's Cyan. What? Gasp, shock, and awe! Can it get more thrown together and incomprehensible than this? If only I could be granted the privilege of never knowing. Signed, Captain Spawn.
Don't worry, Captain Spawn. There is still a short window of hope. Tomorrow, I try to save you from this nightmare one last time. Tomorrow.